Alright, welcome back to the next episode of Gilded Shadows. Sorry that the last video there cut off so abruptly. I had something come up. Anyway, let's jump right back into it. I apologize for my tardiness. He literally sounds like a student late for class. That was a joke, Ari. I'm not mad. I studied him a moment, worried he didn't usually respond. Wait, he didn't usually respond to humor anyway, but you look really tired. Are you sure you're up for this? I can always call Vanessa. Or Caleb. He offered to take over as well if I needed him to. Do you really wish to train with Caleb? Look at it. He's given us the raised brow. Well, no. Then perhaps we should stop chatting and get to work to make the most of the time we have left. Geez, everyone was in such a lovely mood today. When Ari started working on his warm-up stretches, I went through them again as well. I was watching him carefully, and after a while, Ari, that's the fourth time you've yawned today. Are you sure you're alright? I apologize. I was called in earlier than usual this morning. It seems like they're requiring a lot of you these days. It can be hectic when there's an ongoing crisis like the one in Sira. Is teleporting that far difficult? Long distance teleportation isn't all that tiring in and of itself, though anything above 3 people can be a struggle, even for short distances. And we're taking entire teams back and forth. It's not light work. You shouldn't concern yourself with me. You have your own training to worry about. I can't not worry about you, especially when you look exhausted and are grumpier than usual. I don't think my behavior is grumpy. Yeah, it is just a little. Then I apologize for that as well. It has been a hectic. And Heidi's growing insistence I help her achieve her goal is not helping. Yeah, so that's the other thing that I wanted to make a comment about. Heidi was criticizing Morgan for wasting Ari's time because he has so much more important things to do, but then she's asking him to train her as well. So it doesn't quite jive. I'm sorry. I feel like if you weren't here, I still wouldn't train her. I am not an appropriate teacher for her, and I don't believe she has the potential to achieve queen rank. Burn! Oh my, Ari is such a savage here. And the funny thing is, I don't even think he means to be, right? I think he's just, I think it's just Ari being Ari. Cause, yeah, I, I think he's just assessing the situation, without, with his usual analytic perspective as opposed to from an emotional standpoint. How can you be so sure if you don't give her a chance? He stopped and sighed. Must we discuss this? I'm sorry. I hated the sudden tension between us. We may not normally have riveting conversations, but at least it wasn't like this. What did you work on earlier? I stopped when a notification arrived. That's unusual. I pulled up the screen, surprised to see that I was being called to a meeting with Magnus? Ari too, actually. I could see that he was mentioned as well. In fact, your entire guard is being called in right away. What's going on? Perhaps it's an assignment. An assignment? That didn't make any sense, did it? Given the state of my training, I couldn't imagine them wanting to send me anywhere, or thinking it was a remotely good idea. Perhaps, though I doubt it would be a major one. With your training still in the beginning stages, there are a few assignments the Council is likely willing to send you to. I was thinking that as well. I don't know how much I buy that, because given everything that Magnus told us about the other 3 organizations and sort of the point that Endgame is at, they seem like they're kind of in a desperate position. And maybe it's just me, but that's just how it comes across. We won't know until we go in. The meeting is in 15 minutes. Perhaps you should take the opportunity to get cleaned up. It might be wise to change into your uniform as well. My uniform? Do you intend to go to an official meeting as you are? Jesus, Ari, he is in a mood today. No. It was just that I'd never worn the uniform before. No, not outside of trying it on when I first got it. I was still self conscious about it. I also need to get ready. Our lesson for today will need to be postponed. I'll be in front of your door in 12 minutes to pick you up. After that, it was a short jog back to my room so I could clean up. There wasn't time for much more work, there wasn't time for much more than a quick shower to get the sweat off. And then the uniform. Sleek, fitted, and so different from anything I'd worn before. Okay, look up Morgan for a second. She looks great. I love this uniform on her. The black and white looks so striking with the little bit of, I don't know if that's supposed to be gold or bronze inlays, but I mean, it looks great. It was strange pulling it on. It was probably a good thing I didn't have much time to ruminate on it. I'd barely managed to get dressed and get my hair in a passable state before Ari arrived for me. Not alone, though. When I opened the door, Vaughn and Caleb were both waiting with him. Ooh, you look great in that. Doesn't she look great? Vaughn, please don't put us on the spot like that. Oh my god. She elbowed Caleb, who just stepped around her with the usual expression. She's here now, let's go. He stepped a few feet past her and looked back at me with a slight smirk. But I guess she looks almost passable. Oh my god. Honestly, that is much more. I mean, that's the closest thing to a compliment that we can expect from Caleb. And that's much more than what I thought we'd get from him. Hey, don't listen to him. You look amazing. The uniform does suit you. Oh, thanks. I love how she gets so mad when Caleb sort of gives her, I mean, granted, he definitely gave a backhanded compliment. And Ari just sort of made an observation, and she's like, oh, thanks. Somehow, when he said it, my face heated up. Maybe because he'd essentially been my teacher this whole time. It was like getting approval from someone that really mattered. That's so mean. So I guess Vaughn and Caleb don't matter. Either way, we didn't wait around after that. The four of us set off for Magnus's office. The stairs we got were both embarrassing and, I don't know. The others were elites on their way to do something important, and I was an imposter beside them. That's how it felt anyway, as much as I tried to ignore it. So it sounds like she's experiencing a certain level of imposter syndrome here, which is normal when anybody starts a new position. I half expected the rest of the first guard to be waiting for us at Magnus's office, but he was alone when we filed in. He flashed a brilliant smile as soon as he saw me. Ah, is that your uniform? It looks so lovely on you. How exciting. Are you finally beginning to feel like one of us? She has been one of us for quite some time already, has she not? In fact, she was no longer an outsider from the moment she chose to join Endgame. If she was an outsider, she wouldn't be here. True, true. Please come in and have a seat. Unfortunately, I did have a reason I called you all here. He didn't wait for us to do so before he began speaking. I'm sure you're aware of the latest developments of the situation on Sira by now. With more and more mining outposts joining the strike, the government has cut supply chains in an attempt to regain control. This has led to rioting in the major cities. There are even protests here in Arcalis. Fighting has broken out in several places, and, as of this morning, dissidents have overtaken several government buildings. The rest of the ministers are holed up in the capital. It sounds like this is a lot more than a few riots. Many are trying to downplay the situation, but it doesn't seem like it will become a full revolt this time. All transports to and from Sira ceased as of 2 days ago after a cargo transport was shot down. Casualties? Many. Each side is blaming the other, which has put a stall on a potential ceasefire negotiations, but we're still pushing for it. If we manage to succeed, I wanted to let you know that we'll likely send the entire Queen's Guard, Morgan included, to oversee the arbitration team. Don't you think that it's a little early for something like that? This is an important matter. Endgame needs to treat it with full gravitas. even if that means a small show of power. Morgan's existence hasn't been publicly announced yet. My existence? Endgame has yet to publicly announce a Queen-ranked Esper has joined. Normally that would be considered newsworthy. I'm sure the council will find a way to manage that. I'd hoped it wouldn't get this bad up there. My getting involved hadn't even crossed my mind until today, but overseeing peace talks wasn't as bad as I feared. After all, we wouldn't be leading them, just watching, I presumed. I highly doubt it. I mean, maybe that's the assumption that they're sending you in with, but I'm sure that something will go wrong, you know. Murphy's Law, after all. The citizens of Sira have long believed they are being treated unfairly and were exploited by the Triad. The provisional government put in place after the last revolt has done almost nothing to address their concerns. It's unfortunate, but the situation was inevitable. Almost definitely. It seems that several factions have been smuggling in weapons for the last year in preparation for it. Beyond mediating peace talks, what's Endgame's role in all this? For the time being, we are assisting in getting civilians out of any areas where there is fighting. We're also getting medical supplies and aid to the more remote outposts of anywhere else it's needed. What about evacuating civilians to Arcalis? Unfortunately, the Triad has put up a blockade and is refusing to allow anyone on or off the surface. Magnus was silent for a moment, watching me carefully. I'm sure you're concerned for your acquaintances there. My brother can hardly be called an acquaintance, Magnus. Yeah, that's a little cold. I mean, that's her family. Brother? I had no idea about that. He's not in a major city, so I doubt he's near any violence. It's possible he's somewhere that's facing supply shortages then. Vaughn elbowed him in the gut. Yeah, thanks, Caleb. Thanks for being optimistic. Before I dismiss you, there is one more thing. The UTG has alleged that the dissidents have recruited and are using unregistered Espers as part of their fighting force. Ooh. Of course, we know full well that Syrah has a higher than usual population of unregistered Espers, and it's no secret just about everyone wants to recruit them. Generally, they prefer to lie low, however. We don't know yet the severity or truth of these allegations. The Mori are looking into it, but have had limited luck. The use of Espers in a fighting force of this kind would violate multiple conventions and treaties regardless of whose side they were on. This would present further difficulties in our attempts to mediate the situation, so it's something we need to be aware of. We'll keep all of you apprised going forward. If we're able to get both sides to agree to a ceasefire, you could be sent up on very short notice. There will be daily updates for the time being. Read them carefully so you're up to date on any new developments. He smiled brightly. Magnus, read the room, okay? That's all for now. I apologize for interrupting your training, Morgan. All of us but Ari were dismissed after that. Apparently they needed his help to bring more people back from Sierra and send another team up. I'm seriously concerned about Ari, because there's, what is it called, psi fatigue? Like, he has to be exhausted. I didn't know if the reports coming out publicly were made to make the situation sound less severe than it was, or if things had turned sour faster than the networks could keep up. But I hadn't gotten the impression things were as dire as Magnus had indicated. I couldn't get my head around the idea I might be involved in it, even just to oversee negotiations. That thought occupied my mind for the rest of the afternoon and evening. I stayed glued to news reports until bed, but they never discussed the severity of fighting or anything about Espers being involved. The disparity between what they were reporting and what Magnus had told us was strange to witness. Yeah, it's kind of like real life. I hoped they'd call a ceasefire soon. Whoa. What is this new background? What is going on? I rolled over for the 20th time and stared up at the ceiling with a frustrated groan. I can't sleep. It had been happening more and more often, though I had a much better reason for it tonight than usual. I sat up, rubbing my face as I let out a long sigh. Sarah and the growing problems there, Heidi and her insistence I was an outsider. Oh, that's right, they added on a bedroom. I totally forgot. To her apartment. And the strange way those two things were intersected just kept my thoughts racing to the point where I couldn't relax. I had tried Ari's meditation technique earlier, but soon learned it was even more difficult to sleep when my thoughts were calm. And I was suddenly incredibly aware of what was going on next door with my two very much in love neighbors. Sorry, Vaughn and Mara. Definitely didn't mean to spy on that. Sometimes clairvoyance wasn't what it was cracked up to be. I finally tossed the blankets off and decided maybe I should go for a walk. Lying in bed wasn't doing me any good. The galley was closed, but there might be a few people in the lounge. Or if not, there were other places I could go to clear my head without becoming unfortunately aware of anyone else's late night activities. Oh wow, this is so pretty. At first, I'd stopped by the lounge, but it was empty and dark. I left a few minutes later. I eventually found myself in the garden, which was actually one of my favorite spots. Vaughn had first shown it to me the day she'd given me the tour. It was overflowing with plants and the soft flow of water from a fountain fed stream that wound its way through everything. It was lovely and serene, and I wasn't the only one who'd come here for a late night walk, apparently. Oh, more Caleb. I expected it to be Ari, but it's Caleb. Because I rounded a corner to find Caleb walking alone, looking down at a digital display in his hand. I'm surprised at how much Caleb we're getting on Ari's route. Wonder what he's looking at. He looked up and frowned when he saw me. I half expected to get a scolding for wandering around alone. Can't sleep? Not really. I guess there's a lot on my mind lately. What about you? He shrugged. Stopping in front of a bench between where he was and where I was standing, he tipped his head towards it as he sat, an indication for me to join him. I seated. It seemed. I hesitated. I hadn't really been looking for company, but I suppose it wouldn't hurt. Worrying about the meeting today. That's only one part of it. If you're thinking about that infantry brat and what she said earlier, you heard about that? Things get around, mostly because Vaughn doesn't know how to shut her damn mouth sometimes. If she hears about it, everyone in the organization will know about it soon enough. Well, that's terrifying. All bishops are like that. So, what is with you and your dislike for bishops? Who knows? Wow, informative. I wonder if Jack was a bishop. Because that would make sense. The smile faded and I drew my legs up to my chest. I guess I can't say that isn't part of what's keeping me up. Well, you shouldn't lose any sleep over it. It's just some kid whining about not getting something she wanted. I don't think the problem is as simple as that. I'm sure it's hard to accept a complete outsider in this role. Didn't you hear Ari today? You're not an outsider. You never were. It's a nice sentiment. You disagree then? I guess I do still feel a little like an imposter, yeah. Listen, you're here. Heidi's complaints aren't going to change that. I was kind of surprised by how much he chilled out since my arrival. I mean, he was still gruff at times and everything, but he was way nicer than he had been. I feel like we're on Caleb's I feel like we're on Caleb's route. Anyway, you agree with me, right, Ari? What? He leaned back to cast a look at someone behind him. Oh, look at Ari's outfit. I love him in this relaxed outfit. Was this what he was wearing when we first met him? Because I remember thinking that he looked like a waiter, and this kind of looks like a waiter's outfit. I twisted around to see that Ari was, in fact, lurking nearby. His back was against the vine-covered wall as he listened in. These two actually seem pretty close. I mean, which makes sense. I think they're like partners or something. I didn't even notice him. Ari met my gaze as he strained. Where did you... I saw you when you left the lounge earlier. I didn't wish to disturb you, but I was concerned. And I do agree. Yes. So you just silently stalked her from all the way up there? Not happy with the kidnapper title and you feel the need... wait, not happy with the kidnapper title and feel you need an upgrade. Ari does not look amused. Look at the expression on his face. Hardly. I simply wanted to ensure she was alright. I'm fine, just a little insomnia. Caleb stretched out his legs and put his hands behind his head. Welcome to Endgame. I made room for Ari on the bench as he joined us, gently chiding Caleb for making it seem like Endgame was filled with a bunch of insomniacs. I listened to their back and forth for a while, resting my chin on my knees. Too bad Vaughn isn't here, then the group would be complete. So this is like their little group, their little friend group. It's Morgan, Vaughn, Caleb, and Ari. I smiled to myself. Maybe some company is exactly what I needed. It was about an hour later before I finally thought I might be able to sleep. Caleb seemed wide awake when we left him reading alone in the garden. I wondered if insomnia really was endemic in this place. Ari, unsurprisingly, walked me to my room. Though, to be fair, he lives right next to me anyway. You still look tired. I hope you're going to bed after this. Indeed. I'll be going to my flat soon as well. We walked silently for a while before Ari spoke again. I was thinking about our earlier conversation with Heidi. Oh? I know it bothers you to think you took a position someone else wanted, and that you struggle to understand why I have rejected her requests for training. You don't have to explain yourself to me, Ari. I wish for you to understand. I don't want you to think I'm simply being cruel. Oh, look at the expression on his face. He looks so sad. I never thought that. He frowned slightly before he continued. I don't want a misunderstanding to inhibit your ability to trust and learn from me. That would never happen, but if you want to explain, I'm listening. I simply don't want her to hurt herself. I don't believe she can achieve what she wants. One needs to have the right motives and focus, neither of which she possesses. Oh, I really like that. I don't believe requiring a promotion to impress someone is something I should encourage. Who is she trying to impress? Oh, and then Morgan says, who is she trying to impress? I realized it was a silly question even before he gave me that look. Is she trying to impress Ari? The risk of what she's attempting is too great for her to only be doing it for my sake. It is about Ari! And my agreeing to train her would only encourage those feelings, but I don't think it would actually help her improve. So that's the real reason you believe it's a waste of time? Calling it a waste of time is perhaps overly harsh. I understand. I don't want you to think I'm judging you for your decision. It's your choice who you work with. Even if I didn't question her motives, I don't believe I would be able to teach her what she needs to learn. Then why are you willing to train me? Because if it's just due to orders, I don't. No, that isn't why. Then why? I don't dislike training you. It wasn't exactly glowing praise, but coming from Ari was close enough. That's good to know. And Morgan, I put in a request for them to reinstate your communication with the outside so you can contact your parents. Oh? When? Why? Most communications between Syrah and Arcalis are cut off, but it's possible your parents heard something of your brother's situation prior to that happening. It seemed to be weighing on your mind. You didn't have to do that. I know. If I hear anything before you, I'll be sure to alert you. I feel like this is our first real bonding moment, guys. Thank you. He turned to leave, but I caught his sleeve. And worry about yourself a little too. It's okay to tell people you need a break. You shouldn't work yourself to the point of exhaustion. If you don't feel like you can ask for a break that from helping with the incident in Sierra, it's okay to take a break from training me. There are other people who can fill in. A troubled expression crossed his face and he looked away. I don't believe it's necessary, but if it becomes a cause for concern, I'll consider what you've said. Good, and I'm not kidding. If I catch you yawning again, you're going to be the one with a strike on your hands. Yeah, be the one with a strike on your hands. For the first time since I'd known him, the corners of his mouth turned up slightly. Look at this, guys! He's smiling for the first time. getting way too excited about this. It's because he's normally so stoic. I'll bear it. I think this is supposed to be I'll bear it in mind. He nodded slightly and left me at my door. I stepped inside my flat just as he went inside his down the hall. And now, maybe I could finally get some sleep. Chapter 6, Proving Ground. Huh. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna probably end it here. Let me see how long this episode ended up being. Okay, yeah, I will probably go ahead and end it here. I do want to check the affection meter really quick. Uh-oh. Okay, so she's a little frustrated, it looks like. But let's check the relationship meter. Okay, we are making progress. But yeah, I feel like that was like honestly their first real bonding moment. Um because it was the first time that Ari really opened up about maybe a little like and told Morgan a little more about how he's feeling and like his real motivations because this entire time she's sort of been I mean she hasn't been questioning his motivations but she hasn't understood them um and he wanted her to understand which I think is a big deal, right? But yeah, I loved that. That was so sweet. Like honestly, that got me a lot more than I thought it would. So I am very, very happy with how things are progressing. Um, I think it was last episode or the episode before I kind of talked about how I was a little worried about the chemistry between these two, but I can totally see it now. Um, they're they're super, super cute together, and I'm really excited to see how things are going to develop. Anyway, like I said, I am going to go ahead and end it here. I think one other thing I did want to ask you guys about really quick. Um, in the last couple episodes before this, I did try using my webcam. I do I do have a bit of a harder time just staying focused when I have the webcam on. But I do want to know what you guys prefer. Do you guys prefer the webcam on so that you guys can see my facial expressions, or do you guys prefer it like this, to where you can primarily just focus on, what's going on screen, and I can be sort of zeroed in on the content? Let me know what you guys think. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I'll see you next time.